On to this now. The death toll from the train accident on the Odisha state of India is nearing 300, with more than 100 people injured at the moment. The crash is being described as one of the worst train incidents in India's history. Rescue operations are still underway to save those who remain trapped. We get an update from there right now with journalist Prasad Kunduri. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Prasad. And we are nearing 300 people that have died from this particular train accident. And I think for some of those who might not know the circumstances under which this crash happened, if you could just give us a brief description of what happened that led to this accident and where exactly we are at the moment with the rescue operations, the deaths, and really what is happening on the ground.
Thank you. It's a little about 24 hours ago that this accident took place in eastern Odisha state. Two sets of train were involved. Initially, the reports have suggested that around 6:50 p.m. last night, Indian Standard Time, one train traveling with a set of passengers on one line skidded. There was a derailment, and the coaches flew on and hit a stationary freight train, and then spilled on to a third track when another train coming in the opposite direction, again carrying a lot of passengers. Obviously, the impact of these coaches lying on that hit on, and as a result, there was two passenger trains, reserved superfast and express trains, in fact, where this accident occurred around 6:50 and 7 p.m. last evening, Indian Standard Time. But since then, rescue operations have been mounted on a war footing, if I may say so. A little while ago, we heard that the rescue operations per se has more or less been completed, but a lot of people still are suspected to have been trapped below the mangled coaches. So that's where the things stand. Studio.
Prasad, what are authorities saying about this particular accident? Because we do know that there have been issues over years now with the rail network in that part of India, where the infrastructure has not been maintained and has dilapidated over the years. And so there have been calls for government to direct funds to improve the infrastructure of the rail network there. So what message has been communicated from authorities about the calamity that has taken place and the action that will be taken by authorities?
Well, as for action, the government has already announced a high-level probe, and this is a mandatory probe which is done by the Commission of Railway Safety, which incidentally falls under the Ministry of Civil Aviation since almost for 90 years. That has been the way in which it's held. Now, only the probe will establish as to what went wrong for the railways to come up with a systemic solution to it, number one. Number two, as for upgradation of hardware and other wheel and axle as a constant process that has been on. In fact, recently, for almost the last 2 years, the government is stepping up infrastructure of railways and try and get more high-speed networks going across. That's having been said. These are we must remember that Indian Railways is one of the oldest and largest networks that the country and connects the country from length and breadth. And this is holiday time approaching. A lot of passengers travel to here and back and forth from destinations of stay to their homelands, in the sense the states to which they belong to, and vice versa. So that's where we stand. But today, the entire focus of all machinery, whether it is state machinery or the central government machinery, is to ensure that those who have been trapped are rescued, taken off, and the people who have been gravely injured are being shifted to various hospitals and they get medical relief. As you pointed, there are many people who are serious, so we really hope the toll doesn't rise beyond a point. But as of now, that's the focus of the entire machinery. And the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, reached the accident site a little while ago to kind of see and understand what exactly more needs to be done. And the Railway Minister has reached the area last evening, besides the entire authority and machinery at work.
Yeah, and I suppose this is a concerning state of events, Prasad, because there were incidents, for example, in 2005, in 2011, 2016, where scores of people were killed in similar incidents. So one would be concerned as to why government has not addressed the issue from as early as 2005, where about just over 100 people were killed in another train incident, and really what the different stakeholders could do to come on board and ensure that the largest rail network that is there is the safest for those who can't afford any other means of transport.
Well, every accident is a very sad, and loss of life or even injury is a very sad occasion for people to undergo such kind of trauma. Having said that, it is a constant process that governments of the day, I mean, I'm talking of not just this government, but every government has making constant endeavor, A, to improve the infrastructure, B, to increase railway safety by introducing modern technology. In fact, the entire effort is to, one, A, electrify the network, and B, to get modern systems for signaling. That having been said, yes, there are gaps in certain areas which are being addressed, and a constant effort is made. But if you look at the number of volume, if I were to say so, the sheer number of trains that operate crisscross the country, both taking freight and also carrying people, passengers on express trains, superfast trains, and now very recently those superfast trains that are coming up to cater to it. Yes, every tragedy needs to be carefully studied and ensured. And you're right that this is one of the most serious accidents that have happened in the history of Indian Railways. And that's where it is today.
Finally, Prasad, very briefly, do we know when the cleanup operations will be concluded, and if government at all will intervene in the burial processes of those that were killed in this particular incident?
Well, governments, both the state governments of people who have been coming from various states who are traveling on this train have already joined hands to ensure that their people are safely taken. For those who are injured, are helped out, and for those who want to give a decent last respects to their the next of kin will be facilitated. Number one. So, in fact, more than the National Disaster Rescue Force and the state rescue forces are already in operation. Emergency fire services are at work. This is where it is. And so the governments, so different governments have joined hands. And one of the things I would like to point out, which is very heartening, the human gestures that have been seen since last evening. There was a call let out by the local administration for young people, for people to volunteer and come and donate blood just in case, because of the sheer volume. And we have reports coming from the region saying that hundreds of people have turned up at hospitals, volunteered to donate blood for those who might require and save their precious lives. So that is a ray of hope that humanity is there to work with shoulder to shoulder with the authorities in place.
Thank you very much, Prasad Kunduri, for joining us this afternoon. He's a journalist out in India, giving us the very latest of that train accident, the infrastructure issues, and, of course, the immediate steps that government is going to have to take to ensure that calamities of this nature do not happen again.